In this video, I'll be showing you how to set up your location targeting for a Google Ads campaign. One thing to mention right off the bat, always click this drop-down menu and select presence if you are looking to just target people in your targeted location. If you leave this selection on, it will allow anyone in the world who searches up businesses in the area that you're going to be targeting with your Google Ads to see your Google Ads and click on them. By leaving this on, this typically is where we see a lot of either click fraud or a lot of overseas spammers clicking to people's websites at an unseen rate. You will get a ton of clicks for an extremely cheap rate, but you will see almost no valuable conversions by leaving this on. So always check presence if you are going to be targeting a specific location. So next up, in order to target specific locations, we're obviously going to need to click here and click enter another location. We always go to advanced search. And if we are working in a local area, typically less than 100 miles in radius, we are going to want to select by location and not do it by radius. For example, if we are targeting the greater Nashville area, we are going to want to click show all areas. Then we are going to go by not congressional district. We're going to go by county. We're going to go out a bit. And for this example, this business wants to target essentially the Franklin, Murfreesboro, and Nashville area. So what we would do here is click on the area we want to include. We click include, click here, we want to include here, and we click here to include this area as well. Now from here, we are going to want to zoom back out a bit, and we're going to want to select show by congressional district. And essentially what we're doing here is we're going to be selecting a bunch of negative locations around the area that we are targeting. So as you can see here, this dips into the area that we actually want to show for. So we will remove this. But the reason we do this is to just prevent any chance of Google showing our ads to an extraneous audience, because Google is famous for trying to spend your money as quickly as possible, no matter how beneficial it is for your business. And so that can result in erroneous clicks in locations outside of your targeted locations. And so one thing that we'll obviously do here is we don't want to show in states nearby. So we'll type in Kentucky, we'll click exclude, we'll type in Alabama and click exclude. And some people might say this is overkill, and I completely understand, but we just never want to risk getting even one click in a different location, because while that may only cost a couple dollars, there's no reason to waste any money in any of these locations if you don't have to. It can also result in impressions in these areas, which can lower your click-through rate, which then also lowers your ad score. So there's a bunch of reasons to go the extra step and take the extra 1 to 2 minutes to actually go in and exclude the surrounding areas. And so we would just go through and we would select all of these areas to exclude, and then we would zoom in a bit and we would select the biggest counties that we're able. So we can't do it by congressional district, so we would go down and do it by county. And essentially we just want to click exclude and just essentially make a circle around our area that we're trying to target. We just don't want anything relatively close to our locations that we're trying to target. And the reason I'm not excluding this right here is because they are okay servicing this location right here, but they don't necessarily want to target ad spend into it. And so that's another thing to take into consideration, is that they may have some people driving in from Lebanon into Nashville that will see their ads and then drive back out, and they still service this area. They just don't want to spend money on ads in this area. So that's the reason why we would not be excluding that area. But For example, they don't want to show any ads in Dixon. And so that's how we would go about targeting a location of this size. For the next example, we're going to just go ahead and X all of these out. We have a business in Houston that wants to show for a 40-mile radius around their shop, because that's about the farthest distance that people will drive in order to buy their product or service. So in this example, selecting by location would not be helpful, because obviously you're not going to have any location that's going to be a perfect circle. So in this case, we will select radius. From here, we will type in the place. In this case, we're just going to type in Houston, Texas. You can type it down to this specific address. We're going to select, that's not a number, 40 miles. Click include, and as you can see here, it is selected a 40-mile radius perfectly around downtown Houston. And from here, we're going to go back out and we're going to do a similar strategy when it comes to excluded locations. We come back here, select location, click show all areas. We're going to want to go by show congressional district, and then we are going to zoom back out and we're just going to click exclude to a lot of these areas. Obviously, this one is still inside the location that we're wanting to target. Click exclude here, and you get the idea. We go all the way around, and then we do the outlying states. We would also exclude all of Mexico, just to do our due diligence and be for certain that we will not show in those areas relatively close to Houston. One thing to keep in mind when doing location targeting is if you are able to break up your location that you are targeting into a couple of sections. For example, if we were able to break Houston into 4 sections that were approximately the radius of this location that we are targeting, and the customer is okay with showing a couple miles outside of their ideal location, this is always helpful, because when doing a radius, Google typically it can be relatively specific, but it will still show to some people outside this radius, because Google can only be so precise. And it is also helpful because if we find that a specific portion of the locations that we were targeting is not performing very well, we can actually just remove that location as a whole and focus our ad spend towards the higher performing areas. Obviously, this won't always be the case. You won't always be able to split it up into multiple sections, but if you were able to split it up into less than 10 sections, this is always something that's super beneficial. As your budget gets higher, you can break it up into more sections because you have more data to compare different subgroups of your location targeting. Do keep in mind that you don't have to break it into separate sections in order to view the differences in performance by location. You can always go in and create a report on how to view your location data. We have a video for that in our Google Ads channel. Feel free to go check that out to see how to manage and make decisions based on performance by location. So this is a quick summary of how to go about doing location targeting for your business. Hope it helps. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions, and we will see you in the next one.